Shalom everyone, Costa here, and I had an encounter with some Mormons the other day, which triggered something in my mind. And my wife was out, she got talking to these Mormons, right? And she thought that, excuse me, she thought it would be nice for them to have one of their meetings and discussion at our house. So that was interesting. So anyway, they come round our house, and my mission, as always, is when I get the opportunity to open the Bible and speak with people, I try and take it. And I did take it. So I was hearing about what they believe, and I essentially ministered the gospel of the kingdom unto them from the Bible, and essentially shared with them what the Bible says. Now, what was really interesting, and it goes back to a discussion I've been having over the last few weeks, is that as I was talking, it was almost like, if you've ever done sales before, you know that there is a process that you take people through. Like if you're familiar with your product, you know your product, you know your customer, you've done your research, all of this kind of stuff. There's a line, a process, a straight line that you are trying to get your prospective client down, to get them to the end, whereby they sign on a dotted line and give you their money. And it's kind of what I experienced. And if you've also had Jehovah's Witness at your house, it's the same thing. It's kind of like there are set phrases, there are set scriptures, there's set terminology to try and get people to a place where, in the Mormon position, to get you to a place where you just read a page, a couple pages, pray about it and read it, the Book of Mormon. In other organizations, it might be just read this pamphlet, The Watchtower. Just read this, with a view to get you out of your day-to-day life. In my case, to get me out of the scriptures and into whatever text they're promoting. But anyway, it was almost like no matter what I said, the individuals, they were sitting respectfully, whilst at the same time not necessarily hearing what is being said. It's like a period of quiet, so they can either go back to the stage previously in this process, this pitch for whatever it is, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, any kind of thing you're promoting, a period of quiet, so they can get you to the next part of the process. And it goes back to a discussion which I had previously over the last few weeks, which I want to share with you. What you will come to find is that people flourish to organizations and belief systems whereby it's ready-made. You turn up, you sing from the hymn sheet, you sit down in the chair, you listen, you have a good time, you go home, back to your regular life. Now, in some religions, some systems, you are told who your friends can be, if you're allowed to see members of your family, what you can say, how many times a day you need to pray, how you are to dress, where you are supposed to be at a certain time, who you should marry, whether or not you should get a divorce, etc., etc., etc. And those kind of belief systems people flourish to. People flourish to belief systems whereby their every thought and action, deed, they can get validated from someone who is supposedly more holy than them. In those kind of situations, in those belief systems, you as an individual don't really need to do much thinking for yourself, much searching for yourself. The rabbi will tell you who to marry. The imam will tell you what you should or what you shouldn't do. And in those kind of scenarios, what you have is a mediator. And the Mormons are, from what I could see, really it didn't seem any different. And I'm not talking theologically, I'm talking just getting plugged into a system where you marry the people who are unmarried, you do business with the same people, you go into this community, you make friends with those people, you separate yourself from the company of others who don't believe like you believe. And yet, in the scriptures, the model is different. In the scriptures, the Bible says that we already have a king. We already have a mighty one. The scriptures indicate that you don't have a master aside from Yeshua. You don't have a father aside from your Father in heaven. So as a result, you are going to give an account personally. And even though we may rejoice in that fact on paper, seldom do people actually live that way, taking account and responsibility for their own actions, taking responsibility for their own walk, for their own salvation, working it out with fear and trembling. How do I know this? Because this is what I actually preach. This is how I minister the gospel. I don't minister the gospel and preach and facilitate a community or help be a part of a community where people have to bow down and subjugate themselves unto me. I'm your brother. I'm not your master. And if you choose to not observe the Sabbath or the feasts, I'll speak to you as your brother. I'll teach you as your brother. But beyond that, what am I supposed to do? See, if you're not going to listen to me as your brother who is speaking forth the words of Jehovah, why would I expect you to listen to Jehovah? If you don't listen to him, why would I expect you to listen to me? So as a result, sometimes people can look at that freedom that you have in Messiah Yeshua, knowing that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And because they're so used to bondage, they prefer to go back to a place where they're subjugated. We know this from history. We see it in the scriptures. Israel wanted to go back to Egypt. Dogs want to go back to their vomit. Pigs want to return back to the mire. So it's no different. I would just suggest that as a disciple of Messiah, we have such a freedom. The same freedom Adam had in the garden, whereby you already have a master. You already have an Elohim, a God. And he's given you his word. And his word, if you allow it to, it will be in your heart. It will be in your mind. It will be in your mouth. No one's going to force it there. Because what will happen when my back is turned? You will live out who you are. So with that being said, my encounter with the Mormons just reminded me that the religion of men, people will flock to them no matter what they are, whether it be Islam, Judaism, Mormonism, Pentecostalism, this, that and the other isms, because people in their carnal self, they want to be told what to do. It's a lot of work, working out your own salvation. But the Bible says this thing, and I'll close with this, is that if you continue in the Master's word, then you shall be a disciple indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. That truth is the word. Thy word is truth. That freedom that comes with Messiah Yeshua is freedom from sin, which leads unto death. So when you're free from sin, which leads unto death, you'll have life, and you'll have it more abundantly. And although you may have to work, although you may have to even contend with your flesh to strip it back, which is work, it's hard. You have to repent from being you, the you who you was born you, to be a you who is born again. And although you may be challenged by your friends, your family, and yourself, you are free.